Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Otaku Podcast. My name is Hector, your host, and as always, I'm so glad that you guys are able to join today. This episode is going to be decently action packed because I like to talk about the reception of Remnant Issue number 5 and also what is being worked on in regards to the current issue, which is issue number 6. A lot of good things with those two projects, and of course, with the hopes of many more to come. In addition, I would like to go back and talk about the Backrooms movie by Kane Parsons, and I saw it for a third time prior to the weekend, and I just have a newfound appreciation for the Backrooms and the vision of Kane Parsons and how he brought a little internet project to life. So that's going to be very exciting talking about that because I'm passionate about projects like that, and Kane Parsons did such a good job with it. And then for the final segment, just like the last episode of the podcast, I do want to take it on a more serious drive here, talking about men's mental health and basically why we as men need to continue working in our mental health to stay afloat, but also some advice that not only I learned throughout the years, but basically what I do that keeps me afloat. I mentioned it briefly in the last episode of the podcast, but I didn't really go into more details about how I managed to keep myself from going insane, even though there's many trying things that happen in life. And I'm no person to say that I'm immune to it because I'm not. So I wanted to go over some information about that. And people who tend to show a lot of empathy towards others don't change who you are, but just change how you do it. And that's going to be talked about more in detail as well. But to open up the show, let's talk about Remnant Issue number 5. And we've seen a lot of progress between issues 3 and 4. I believe issue 3 introduced William Phillips. Issue number 4 talked about more of his background, where he came from, but also how he uses his power, particularly against children or young families. And in issue 5, we have a pretty decent altercation between Remnant and William. But then in issue 6, Final Curtain Call is the title of the series, or the issue rather. It will be the final altercation between the two characters. Now, William Phillips is a rather interesting character. Pretty opposite as far as personality goes with the first villain, Victor Silex, or the broker. Mr. Phillips, he used to be a child entertainer, putting on these shows and performances in front of a theater full of children and their very regretful parents, And so William had a very marvelous gift in entertaining children. But of course, he used that for bad. And then over time, he was able to tap into some supernatural powers, not demonic, but he was able to tap into some powers, and he was able to mislead children. He was able to mislead even the parents because he just wanted to get the power from the youth to continue being a dominant villain. And so we learned that a little bit in issue number 5. And the thing that was interesting about Phillips is the fact that he can control puppets or dolls, but he also can control TVs. So when his show is playing late at night, early in the morning, even midday, and some channels, they air it 24/7 because of the popularity, well, he's able to lure in children and take them away. Now, he can take them physically, or he can take over their minds, and they can do some pretty gnarly things. And that's what makes William very dangerous because his opponent, which is our hero, Remnant, he feeds in to the pain of others, and he uses that against the people that he's fighting against. In this case here, children give him a lot of power because he was once abused, he had trauma himself, so he can feel what they feel. And that gives him that motivation, that gives him the power beyond what is normal in this case here. He was able to get the powers that he needed because he's learning to master it now. We saw a little hint of it in issue number 3 when Remnant defeated Victor Silex, the broker. We saw a hint of it, but what was very interesting about that version of his power, he didn't get any outside help in this one. That power naturally came upon him. And then in the next issue, issue number 4, when Remnant, or Andrew Nunez in this case, was talking to Scott, Andrew told him, like, look, I don't know what happened, but I got power, and I just didn't know how to control it. And then Scott gave out the hint, another metahuman. And if you notice one of the last panels before Andrew walked out of Scott's office, Scott got on his phone and said, hey, we need to talk. Wonder what that meant. It might have been something very minor that you can just ignore and just move on with it. Oh, no. I like to do storytelling here. So transition over to issue number 5. Scott again makes a call because he couldn't locate Andrew. Andrew was basically dealing with William Phillips, who had him in a hold. He had him tied up. He had him bounded. So now William Phillips is using his power against Andrew, who is Remnant. You can see Remnant struggling with his mind. You can see him struggling with his thoughts. He's fighting against the tight grip that William has. But then something happened. After Scott makes the call, Andrew was able to break free from Remnant. With the help of a little girl that was referenced in issue number 1, he was able to see her, basically. Now, granted, it was an illusion. It wasn't anything that was happening in real life, but it was all in his mind. Basically, the point of that was to show that he could forgive himself, that he has to accept what happened, that he can't change, and he has to keep moving on from it. You see, with this girl here that he failed to save, Andrew, basically that was his motivation of being Remnant, right? I mean, he was very hell-bent on getting these criminals, not killing them per se, but what must be done at times. And we haven't seen anything like that yet. Maybe don't take yet too seriously. But we've seen him struggle with his thoughts and his powers and controlling his anger and things like that from issues 1, 2, and 3 because that motivation that he got. And then we saw that slight hint of power in issue number 3, as I mentioned. Scott realizes something's going on here, makes the call. Andrew's gone. He can't be found. Scott makes another call. And then Andrew, who's Remnant now, you see that he is visualizing different things. Which, the inspiration from the Backrooms and liminal spaces, we see the beautiful artwork. And shout out to some friends of mine that helped out in this. I wish it didn't take 5 months to get issue 5 out. But life happens, man, and we'll talk more about that at the end of this, towards the end of the segments here, because the last segment will deal with mental health and things like that. Issue 6, which will be releasing July 31st, that's going to have a lot of heavy-hitting action, for 1. But 2, Andrew's able to control his power more. And 3, just like the previous issues, it deals with trauma and mental health. Like, you read the story, and you can apply it personally in some way, shape, or form. And that's why I always say these comics are more for a mature audience, because a lot of references, a lot of the dialogue, children won't understand it. The content is still children appropriate, but dialogues and speeches and, the wording itself, that's a little harder to get going. So that's why I wanted to say it's for a mature audience, not because it's something bad, it's just because, they just won't understand it. And so we learn a lot about trauma. We learn a lot about guilt. But Remnant's focus here in this particular part of mental health is the fact that you need to move on. Like, yes, it's easier said than done, and some trauma is bigger than others, but you need to move on. You can't just stay in that dark hole forever. You can't stay in that space where you can't climb out of. Of course, you're not going to forget it. We cannot forget those things. I mean, Remnant realizes the lives that he failed to save. He realized that that little girl that he strived to protect, he failed to save at the end of the day. And so that kept holding him back from being happy, from seeing life the way it should be, and also being a very powerful hero. So we go through the same thing as well. And that's why, again, these points always tie together. So in summary, basically, people appreciate it, and this is talking about the reception from you guys because, it always means a lot to me. Remnant means a lot to me, but also seeing the positive feedback that y'all provide me, it really helps me. It really makes me happy and helps me to keep pressing forward. So just some thoughts about what you guys have said here. Some of you appreciated the psychological tone and emotional weight, and that really was what I was gunning for. Like, you can make a pretty amazing thriller or, a horror-based comic or story without all those demons and things like that that are not befitting. But psychological stuff, that could be even more terrifying because it's all in your mind. And it's things that you make a reality that should not even be a reality, you know? And that's where Remnant lies in. Psychological horror, Golden Age based stories. That's basically the inspiration for Remnant as far as, those features go. People commented on Mr. Phillips, who he feels genuinely unsettling and manipulative, which, yeah, that is true. The conflict between William and Remnant felt personal, and that's true. They haven't had a full-on battle yet, but, just the words and the jabs that they throw at each other, it's pretty personal. And you guys responded positively with the emotional moments and heavier themes, and, excuse me, that lies in with the mental health awareness. That relies with grief. As you guys know, last minute, I had a last minute set of panels done because during the production of this issue, speaking of issue number 2, my cat Cutie passed away, my 18-plus-year-old. So, I had to add that into the story because the story deals with guilt. It deals with trauma. It deals with grief. So, obviously, I lost my cat of 18-plus years, and there's a lot of grief with that, and I'm still struggling with it, even though it was like 2.5, 3 weeks ago. But yeah, man, this is some stuff that needs to be in stories. And so, speaking personally now, in regards to the project and its reception, I wonder at times, will people connect with this the way I hope for? Will people see this series as something that is important to me? Will people understand where I'm coming from when putting out this content here? See, these are the questions that I always ask myself. And I never had the thought about being famous or, go viral because that is not my intention. My intention is to reach out to friends and family and those who might appreciate the stuff that I put out. If that gives me popularity, great. If not, I'm still going to be putting out the same content. I'm not going to change for people. I'm not going to change based on trends that many creators do. And it's quite funny because when May came around, there was only a few posts about mental health from some creators. And then June, which is specifically for men's mental health awareness, maybe a few posts at the beginning of the month, and that's it. The trends have changed since, so their content has also changed as well. But I've been putting this out even before May came around, so, again, if it connects with people in that level, great. But the mystery, pacing, and darker atmosphere, that's what people like too. And, again, I appreciate it. I really do. But all this is rewarding at the end of the day, guys. And, I can't, again, begin to explain enough of my appreciation for you guys. And thank you again. So, as mentioned, issue number 6, or AKA Final Curtain Call, is releasing July 31st, and that's a Friday. So, what a great way to start your Friday evening is by reading a decent comic. But anyways, I'm not going to spoil it fully here because there's a lot of writing and storytelling going along in this issue here as we keep moving forward with the villains and things like that. But the emotional stakes are higher than before, for one. William Phillips' influence has spread further. Bigger tensions and feelings of escalation, emotional payoffs to earlier story threads. A confrontation fans have been waiting for. Yep, some of y'all reached out about it. And, of course, more focus on what Remnant truly represents, and that is the key there. So you see Remnant, learning more about himself in the last issue, and some questions are still up in the air with that. And they'll be told over time what the observer explained to him. You will soon know the truth. He will soon learn the truth, things like that. What is the truth? What is truth? Well, we'll find it out in later issues. But yes, the atmosphere will be darker. Stakes are heavier, as mentioned. And, if you guys been paying attention to the themes of grief, fear, trauma, guilt, and hope throughout Remnant, you're going to realize a lot of these things do come together. So I think people who connected with William Phillips and Remnant in issue 5 are really going to appreciate what happens next. So mark your calendars. July 31st. Now, let's talk about the Backrooms. The Backrooms has been incredible. Now, speaking of the movie, now you all might think I'm crazy, but I've seen it 3 times. Yes, I know, no life. 3 times I have seen the Backrooms. And why 3 times? Well, look at the video games I play for one. They're all Backrooms or liminal spaces. I just love the psychological horror elements that those projects have to offer, you know? And just the creativity behind it. The fact that you can pretty much let your mind wander forever based on nostalgia and the unsettled feeling that someone's watching you, you know? And that's why I appreciate the Backrooms overall. And I've been a fan of it for a long time. I mean, you've seen me play countless games for one, but just the internet series as well. I've been following it forever. And because it's creative, it's cool, it's also fresh. As I mentioned in the last episode and even briefly here, like, you don't need demons or ghosts or devils or whatever to make a horror film. Like, you can make a nice one without all those elements and do psychological horror. Like, it works out pretty good. So I can honestly say that my appreciation after seeing it for the 3rd time has truly grown, and I feel like I learned a lot from the movie. I missed the previous 2 times, and even what people online are missing. But again, because I learned a lot more, it deepened my appreciation for Parsons' vision. And so you can tell, you know, Kane Parsons, you know, started directing this when he was 19 years old. He just turned 20, I think, or he's about to turn 20 or 21. Like, dude, a kid was able to successfully make this film. His first ever directed film. You know, you got A24 as the studios, which they focus more on indie stuff as opposed to mainstream stuff, you know? That was the way to do it, man. That was pretty awesome. You could see the passion behind Parsons when making this film, because it was true to his vision. And I think people were upset because they didn't see any of the entities that they're used to seeing in video games and in the internet series. Y'all, this is the first of quite a few projects to come. I mean, this is going to be a cinematic series. And Kane is open to that, and he's working on it and currently looking for help. You know, if you got some experience out there, hit him up and see what you can do to help. Keep that movie going, man. It was incredible. But again, the passion was there. And because of that passion, Kane was able to make something ambitious. You can feel the respect that Kane has had for his vision. And what makes this project special is the fact that you can see the respect he had for that source material while it's expanding into something cinematic. It didn't feel cheap. It didn't feel like it was a cash grab. It felt personal. And atmosphere over cheap horror is very important when it comes to making a good horror film, in my opinion, as a viewer. One thing I appreciate more after multiple viewings is the atmosphere, and I kind of mentioned that already. But the movie understands that fear isn't always loud. Fear is something that can be silent. It can be emptiness. It can be not knowing what's around the corner, and that's why the Backrooms, it made it work. Every corner that you turn was something that would take you even further away. And that's what the characters realized. The silence. I mean, there was very few songs that played throughout the movie. But the silence, the unsettling feeling, that's what got you. Too familiar to feel safe, but too unfamiliar to understand. And after 3 viewings, I noticed that there's a little more details, a lot more references, you know, to the web series and things like that, which gives me hope that it will be something great and huge. And one thing that I did notice as well, remember when Clark, I think it was the second time that we seen at least, him going to the Backrooms, and it was that room, I forgot what it was called exactly. There's a name for it, but the one with the Christmas tree, the Christmas lights, and the eerie song playing in the background. And then Clark, you know, bumps into what we would assume is his ex-wife, you know, with the red hair. And like she's chasing after him. That was a horrifying scene for one. But 2, prior to him going to the end of it, there was mannequins there within the sand. Then the Backrooms is made from memories. Each room has its own memory. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, we didn't see any mannequins in the movie, nor did we see any in the background. Like, we haven't seen any mannequins, period. If I'm wrong about this, hit me up, because I didn't see no mannequins. But the mannequins were there for a reason, where Clark was at. It's a memory, see? So, you know what that means. We might see some mannequins in the future film, and that's going to be freaking awesome. If we can get just the mannequins and the parasite entity, that will be a perfect movie. That's all we need. The other ones, we can wait till later. The hound dog, whatever you want to call him, and the skinwalkers, all those good stuff. You know, hold on, who texted me? Oh, Brandon texted me. Hold on. When Brandon texts me, I got to respond. Oh, shoot. That's funny. Sorry, I got distracted with more text. But anyways, guys, yeah, be patient. Those entities will eventually come. Okay? You're fine. You're fine. Calm down, y'all. All right, so, in closing for this segment here, the movie did capture something very beautiful. And the liminal feeling is hard to explain unless you've experienced something that made you feel nostalgic and uncomfortable at the same time. But it's all there for those who have experienced it. So I genuinely respect Kane Parsons' vision. It takes guts to take something internet-based and turn it into a full cinematic experience without losing the soul of what people are connected to, And honestly, seeing it 3 times made me appreciate it even more. So yeah, there's that. Well, on a serious note here, I feel like we'll take the most time with this. That's why I try to keep the first couple of segments within 25 minutes, and we're at the 22 mark, so I think we're okay. But this final segment is going to be talking in more detail about men's mental health and why it's important for us as men to be balanced when it comes to self-care. And part of that self-care can mean helping others, but again, balance is needed. And I think this conversation matters more than people realize because, well, for one, my social media accounts are open. My podcast, talks about very serious things on top of the entertainment. Things that people will feel vulnerable over, And so when it comes to mental health here, I think, this is what I said last time too, we need to stop pretending that everything's fine. Like, let's be real. Not everything is fine. We got good days and bad days. Sometimes more bad days than the good days, And I think that's something that we have to realize. It's okay to not be okay. Because you think about the old thinking that men don't cry, men should not have feelings, men are men, like feelings make you weak. We're all human. What puts a man over other people because of, emotions? We all need to express ourselves in a positive way, but also in a raw and authentic way. And that could be a lot of pain and anger, but it's how you redirect from it. Men are not always okay. They're not always strong. They're not always composed. They can't carry everything. They can't always stay quiet. They can't always keep drowning and saying that they don't need a lifeboat or, something to save them. Strength lies on being honest with yourself and with others. That's where strength really comes from. So you don't have to break down publicly. Break down in silence. You don't have to tell all the world your struggles either. Some people like myself don't mind sharing more than not because there's a lot of people who might be going through what I'm going through. But you don't know everything and you won't know everything. And that's totally okay. But talk to somebody, at least, when you're struggling. Talk to a trusted friend, a trusted family member, someone who really cares about you. Or seek help, professional help, And that's totally fine and nothing to be ashamed of. Because isolation is dangerous, guys. And I've said this to people before who are going through things. Go outside. Go for a walk. Or just sit out and enjoy the sunshine. You know, when you get up and go outside for at least 15 minutes to start your day, that's before work and everything, you will have a more positive day because you started off your day right by enjoying the sunshine, enjoying nature, getting that needed energy and, everything that you need for your mind to start a good day off, right? That's how you do it. Go outside and enjoy yourself. Don't be isolated. Because the thing is, isolation does feel comfortable at first because, everything else is quiet around you. Don't do that, though. Don't make it a habit. Alone time, it can be good and beneficial. We need alone time. But don't make that your only resort, Don't convince yourself that nobody understands. Don't convince yourself that you're protecting others based on your silence. What often happens in silence could easily be the worst, and we completely fall apart. You guys have to talk to others. Don't be ashamed. Don't think that you're weak because you are expressing yourself. That's not right. Be true to yourself, okay? You're going to be okay. I promise. Talk to somebody. Be honest and talk to somebody. My DMs are open. I mentioned that already. You can go to Otaku Podcast on Instagram, at Cordero on TikTok. I'm there. I'm on pretty consistently. And yes, I do check all my messages because I don't get a lot. So it's easy to check the messages. But yeah, man, don't be ashamed to hit me up, bro. If you need some advice, I got you. Now, balance. And this is where we miss the mark in quite often as men. Balance. Why is balance important for us? Well, the reason why balance is important is because we have to recognize that in order for us to successfully help others, we got to help ourselves. Because how can we help others if we can't help ourselves? Yes, I know. You're happy because you're helping people. It brings you joy. I mean, you get more happiness in giving than receiving, and that's a fact. Or maybe you see how someone showed appreciation for you at one point, and that feeds you. That makes you feel better about yourself and your outlook in life. Like the fact that you can help people and they appreciate it, that's a great feeling. But it does not matter if you're destroying yourself in the process. Being dependable matters. Helping people matters. But again, not at the expense of destroying yourself. If every day feels emotionally draining, if you constantly feel empty, if you're always giving but never refilling yourself, eventually something's going to break. If you've ever been on a flight, they always go through the safety instructions before the flight goes on, and you got the infamous flight attendants doing some weirdo dances or rituals while they're trying to be funny, and that oxygen mask falls down from above you. What do they always say before they move on to the next step, huh? Put it on before you help somebody put it on. And that is true, because the point is, it's not selfish, but how can you help others if you cannot help yourself? Because if you can't breathe, how are you going to help somebody else breathe? If you're emotionally exhausted, if you're mentally drained, constantly overwhelmed, you eventually stop becoming helpful to others because now you've neglected yourself. And now you need even double the help, And so, be careful. Brother, you matter too. You matter too. And in particular, those who demonstrate empathy, you guys got to keep this in mind, because I am one of those that shows empathy. What is it called? An empath? Don't lose yourself trying to save everyone. This is one that I, myself, have struggled with for a long, long, long time. And this is where I'll give you personal advice as well. Because I've been there. I've been broken trying to save people. I've been ripped apart, scarred, both physically and mentally, emotionally even, trying to help other people. But then at the expense of me not caring for my family or myself. And family, meaning, spending time with my parents, not children, things like that. But yeah. So this part here, guys, and this is the last segment of the two-parter, I guess you could say, for the mental health thing. Empaths, don't lose yourself trying to save everyone. This is especially important, guys, because you do care about people. You're a good person because you feel their pain, you feel their sufferings, and you know a way or two to help them out, and you do. And you know what's crazy? The first couple of times, it is insane of the joy that you get for helping others, especially those who will show appreciation for it. You care deeply about people. You constantly want to fix things because you hate seeing suffering. It makes you even feel uncomfortable at times when you see someone having to deal with suffering. You absorb everybody else's pain because you love them and you care for them. And it makes you happy to see them happy. But please hear me on this. You can't save everyone. And this lesson hurts. Sometimes you pour everything into somebody. You listen, you encourage, you check on them, you sacrificed, you made hard conversations, you try again and again and again. But if somebody repeatedly refuses help, or they refuse accountability, or they simply don't want to grow, or they take what you give to them, your efforts and everything that you have done for them as far as making them a better person and, giving them a hope, without the appreciation or effort, you have to ask yourself, am I helping them or am I drowning with them? Sometimes loving somebody means that you have to love them from afar, stepping back. And not because you don't care, it's because you do care about yourself and about them. Because in order to help them, again, you have to help yourself first. Saving yourself matters too. So, here's some tips on this and why it's important. It's more of a life lesson, really. For me personally, and this is not even in my notes here, by the way. For me personally, I've always made great efforts to help people, Hold on. Uh-oh. Hold on. Did we lose connection? No, we did not. Whew. That kind of made me nervous there for a sec. But anyways, always strived to help people, putting forth a lot of time and energy and effort, even, resources that I have or had, to just help them be a better person, to see hope for the future when life wasn't good for them at the moment, for them to be happy. I've constantly invited people to places so they don't feel left out, even if it was to my house at the time in California, even sometimes here in Missouri. Texting, calling, playing video games. Everything basically. Every means of communication. You know what I'm saying? And so, when you spent so much time doing that, you really do forget to care for yourself. And then they start expecting you to keep helping them like that. But then, and this is the reality of it, when things go better for them eventually, or when life is more optimistic, or maybe circumstances change, they found someone new, or now they're dating somebody, they immediately forget everything you've done for them. And they move on. They moved on as if you didn't do anything for them before. And so, that can be damaging to people because, you wasted all this time helping them. You stood up late at night, picked them up late at night. You canceled plans just to hang out with them. You went above and beyond and went out of the way to make sure they were cared for. But during those difficult times that you helped them with, you forgot to help yourself during difficult times. And then they ended up leaving still. That is one of the worst feelings ever. Here's the thing. You can't lose yourself helping people who don't show appreciation for what you do for them. And that's a fact. There are so many people here, even midway through 2026, that will still sap the life out of people who are genuinely good people, who love to give, who want to continue giving, you know? And it's frustrating because your kindness, your generosity was taken for granted and thrown to your face. When someone's life gets better, when their circumstances changed, or something, a glimpse of positivity starts to spark in them, they immediately forget everything you've done for them, right? But at times we can only blame ourselves with it because we thought they were being appreciative. And that's why you got to set the balance, set boundaries, set clear expectations. There's nothing wrong with that, you know? You can do it because there is no worse feeling than to continue working and helping somebody when you have no energy left to help somebody and they still smack you in the face with it. It is so sad to see that happen. And I've known people that are like that. And it's very unfortunate because now you have all these nice people out there, right? And they just stop being kind because they lost themselves in the process. They forgot what empathy was like. They forgot what it was like to be generous because they've done it so many times and they got burnt out. And those are the kind of people that you do not want to lose in your life. Because once they're gone and they ain't coming back. And that's the reality of that too. When someone who's empathetic towards others has got all his energy sapped away, drained, to the point where he can barely crawl, figuratively speaking, they give up and they walk away and they don't come back. So, don't let that happen to you, basically. You know, don't lose yourself in the process of helping others. So the tips I mentioned earlier, stop carrying everything alone, okay? That doesn't mean share it with the world, but talk to that one person that you truly feel comfortable with. So stop carrying everything alone. Move your body. Take a walk. Go to the gym. Stretch. Play sports. Anything to keep you physically moving because that will help you. And that will help the blood flow. That will help things work up in your brain. It will help things run more smoothly. Getting proper sleep. Seems cheap, but it's pretty obvious. The more sleep you get, it's better for you. Because you get burnt out, exhausted emotionally and mentally, you need sleep to recharge. Set boundaries. Not everything belongs to you. Not every problem you should carry. Do something that gives you peace. Gaming, reading, prayer, music, creating, walking, podcasts, art. That's why I'm doing the podcast. That's where Remnant came about. Because it got to a point where I was struggling to express myself in a healthy way. And I was keeping it all inside. I'm able to let it out now in the podcast and the Remnant series. Do something creative. You can make creativity from anything. Do it. Just do it. Next, learn to say, I am not okay. That sentence is not weakness, it's honesty. Repeat after me. I am not okay. That sentence is not weakness. It's honesty. Hopefully you felt better doing that and saying it out loud to yourself. So, to any man listening right now, stop pretending, man. You don't have to carry the world by yourself because you too matter, bro. You are loved. You're important. You are amazing at what you do. Keep doing it. Keep being the best version of yourself. Keep being the reason why people want to see positivity in the world. Because they see you and they say, there's hope. Well, be that person. And while helping others is such a beautiful thing, don't forget to help yourself. And there's no shame in, healing yourself. just be strong every day. Because the fact that you are here now shows that you have strength, shows that you are a strong person. The fact that you woke up from that thing that you were dealing with today, the thing that made you want to go off yourself and be a statistic, guess what? You woke up today because you're strong. Don't do it, bro. You are important. You are loved. You're respected. People care about you. Don't hurt yourself, because the temporary hurt that you provide yourself and that means of an end that happens in a couple of seconds, that is forever pain for those who actually love you. So don't do it. You're here because you're meant to be here. You are loved. Don't forget that. Well, guys, thank you so much for giving me this platform to express how I feel about projects going on and how I feel about you personally. Thank you guys so much for always joining me in this. It's a nice ride it's been so far, I love you all so much, and I genuinely mean it, because you guys support me. You guys provide the feedback. You guys send money over as means of donations and things like that keep this podcast running. When I go on live, I don't get much viewers, but the few viewers show their support financially. And I don't even care if it's a couple bucks a live. It adds up after a month. And that pays for the system I use to run the podcast. That pays for the artwork towards Remnant. It covers a lot of ground. So you guys are awesome for doing that. Thank you guys so much for everything that you do. Thank you. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Keep being the reason why people want to change for the positive. Don't give up. And thank you for joining me in the Otaku Podcast, where nerds collide.